We all know that Bach was a musical genius, especially when it came to fugues.
You're right about that.
But I'm tired of him getting all the attention. So I decided that I'm going to audition fugues composed by 5 amateur composers to see if they can beat Bach at his own game. I'm going to rate each piece on 8 metrics using a simple checkmark system, and if a piece wins 5 or more of these metrics, then they beat Bach. And to keep things interesting, I'm going to assign ratings in real time as we listen. For example, if a piece wins, let's say the complex harmony metric 20 seconds in, then I'm going to let you know right away. But music isn't just about metrics. The composer must also evoke emotion. And that's why each piece is also going to receive 1 or 2 evoked emotion adjectives, along with an award and my comments explaining why they earned that award. Before we start though, let me first explain to you what each metric means. Harmony describes how the music progresses in relation to its key. Here are some examples of traditional harmony in various styles, so you can see what I mean. Complex harmony includes non-traditional chords, such as polychords or harmony created through counterpoint. And this creates more tension or a unique sound compared to standard harmony. Key changing is a tricky subject because music naturally changes key through chord progressions, but these shifts are usually temporary. A true key change, though, is more permanent. For example, in the recapitulation of Beethoven's Sonata Pathétique, the music starts in C minor, but then it shifts to G minor through a series of chord changes. Storytelling describes how well a piece of music can evoke emotions and tell a story. And a great example of this is
Hedwig's theme, and her music is characterized by the celeste, which you'll hear over here, this little magical instrument.
Originality of a piece of music is how far it deviates from the norm. And this is a challenging metric for a fugue because it follows a very strict form. However, a good example of innovation within a strict form is Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. And what makes this famous organ piece so original is the highly unique and dramatic introduction that precedes the toccata. Being true to form just means if the fugues roughly follow the fugal format. And I'm mainly going to just be looking for how well the composer used voices for counterpoint, and if they composed well-established subjects and answers. And a subject is really just the primary idea or melody represented by each voice. The structure of a piece is just how well organized the music is, and I'll be checking each piece for melody. And in my opinion, composing a good melody is the hardest part of music composition. An example of an excellent melody in the Baroque time period is Bach's Badinari, which is part of a suite. So I just want to clarify that the order of these fugues have no significance. In fact, I'm going to randomly choose which piece to showcase next by spinning a wheel. There's a 37.5% chance that Peter goes first. Or did I do that math right? Peter's Fugue in B major brings us back to the 1700s with its historic appeal. And we have clear subject and answers with a well-formed structure.
It's really good. Ich verliere, bitte besser nicht. Lass mich nicht verlieren.
I feel that this Fugue in A major by Muchen has excellent functional harmony, but also has the strongest key changing. We clearly start off in A major, but it's at this point here in the piece where we smoothly modulate into E major. Then, without over-analyzing this piece, we end up modulating into A major's relative minor, which is F sharp minor. And I just feel that these are all smooth transitions, and these key changes are important in order to keep the listener engaged. I think Bach has some serious competition here. Peter's Fugue in C minor is a fugue that's true to its form because it has a clear subject and an answer. And the melody is also really catchy, and I feel that the use of functional harmony is well executed. It just gives this piece a sense of forward progression. That was my guess. This short fugue by PCC wins points for originality because of its highly rhythmic format. And we also have a bit of complex and well-executed functional harmony, which keeps this piece engaging. Who's going to be our next victim?
Don't mind me, I'm not scared. Bless you. What's that?
I said, I love this melody.
This Fugue number 1 is composed by QWERTY, and I put in a little extra work to make this invention style piece sound more like a performance because I really enjoyed the simplicity of the piece. And speaking of inventions, this piece fits more into this genre because of its two-voice nature and its simple structure. I also think the key change from C minor to A sharp minor and then eventually to F sharp major was a bold move. I'm not really sure how we got there, but it works and it keeps us engaged. That was my guess. I feel that Peter's Fugue in B minor evokes the greatest emotion here, especially for a fugue. In my opinion, this fugue evokes a sense of despair, and I actually think it gives off a little bit of a Castlevania vibe. Most of these compositions were created and recorded using Jotter, which gives me the chance to test this software with real users while I also showcase high quality and amateur musical compositions. So if you enjoy this type of content, be sure you like and subscribe, and you can also join my Buy Me a Coffee for early access to Jotter, and you can get exclusive discounted pricing. So make sure you check the description for more details and ways to support Jotter. This fugue by HoYin immediately wins points with complex harmony. And if you're not accustomed to highly dissonant music, here's a tip on how to understand this piece. We must first identify the subject or melody. And because the melody is very good and distinctive, it's clear to me at least that this piece is true to the fugal form. And despite how dissonant the music is, we can clearly see that the answer to the subject is in the second voice. Now that we have an understanding of the structure, it's pretty easy to pick out the subject just based on the rhythm. It seems that at around measure 19, we may have a stretto, and maybe the composer can chime in and let me know. HoYin is implementing his subject in close and rapid succession, oftentimes before the answer even has time to respond. But one thing is for sure, and that's HoYin without a doubt wins the originality metric. There's really no clear key in this piece except for the short intro and the short ending. Honestly, I think Bach would have been proud of every submission here. This challenge really highlights the value of a friendly competition and constructive criticism while keeping it fun and positive. But composing with voices for counterpoint can be tricky, and the fugal form really isn't the easiest thing to master. So if you'd like to learn more about this topic, I've got the perfect video for you lined up for you right here. See you next time.